Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We've got some incredibly dynamic material to unpack today. We're looking at how to actually live out our faith and our missions, not just as like a set of vague ideals, but with a highly tactical, practical playbook. Because just like any great endeavor in life, faith requires a clear strategy to really succeed. So to get a handle on this, we're going to look at one of the greatest tacticians in all of history, the Apostle Paul.
To really grasp what Paul was doing, our source material uses a brilliant, universally understood metaphor. Think about a World Cup victory, like Spain's incredible triumph. Who is the mastermind behind that? Who analyzes the opponent, figures out the attack, and manages the whole flow of the game? It's the manager, right? A winning coach doesn't just send players out onto the pitch to run around blindly. They execute a precise strategy. In the exact same way, the Apostle Paul didn't just wander from city to city hoping to accidentally score a goal for the gospel. No way. He moved with a crystal-clear divine mission strategy.
Okay, let's dive into this. Today we're breaking down 3 distinct tactical plays from Paul's playbook: the disciple deployment strategy, independence in teamwork, and finally, gracious feedback.
But first, if we apply this soccer metaphor to the church, here is what our spiritual roster actually looks like. God is the ultimate manager, overseeing the grand vision of the entire game. The Apostle Paul, he acts as our head coach, laying down these historic foundational strategies. Your local pastor is essentially the team captain on the field, guiding the flow of play. But here is the absolutely crucial part I want you to internalize today. The saints, the believers, that means you, are the starting players. You're not a passive spectator. You're not a bench warmer. You are out there on the field.
All right, let's look at strategy 1, the disciple deployment strategy.
To see exactly how Paul deployed this tactic, we got to look at an incredibly intense moment from his first missionary journey. In a city called Lystra, Paul was actually stoned by a hostile crowd and literally left for dead. He barely survived by the skin of his teeth. But did he retreat to the locker room to lick his wounds? Nope. The text in Acts 14 tells us that he immediately got up, went straight to a city called Derbe, kept right on preaching, and instantly gathered those who believed, deploying them directly onto the field. He didn't tell them, hey, go sit in a classroom for a year before you do anything. No, he instantly called them disciples.
This brilliantly illustrates a massive paradigm shift for us. I think we often have this fixed idea that a new believer is just a spectator. We think, oh, I need years of qualifications, special training, or some official title before I can be a true disciple. Ask yourself right now, what are the specific excuses making you feel like a mere spectator? Because the biblical paradigm completely shatters those excuses. The very moment you accept the message, you are immediately deployed as a starting player in the kingdom of God. You skip the bench entirely.
So the takeaway here is beautifully simple. Believing in Jesus is your sufficient qualification. Our source notes that this immediate mobilization is a profoundly powerful tactic. For one, it leaves zero room for Satan to prevail because literally everyone is actively playing the game. Secondly, it keeps the raw power and, frankly, the wildness of the gospel alive. And finally, it builds a fiercely united community, simply because everyone shares the exact same heavy responsibility out there on the field together.
Moving right along to strategy 2, independence and teamwork.
According to Acts, Paul built resilient, self-sustaining church communities using 3 distinct principles. First up, independence. He wasn't building a modern corporate franchise where he controlled every little detail from afar. He made local churches self-reliant. Second, plural leaders. He always appointed multiple co-workers together to balance each other out. And third, entrustment. He entrusted these elders entirely to the Lord, meaning Jesus is the true owner of the club, period. When we serve, we have to remember we aren't the owners, and we can't become overly dependent on just one single human leader. So why is this multiple leadership dynamic so vital? Well, our source warns heavily against what it calls pastor-centrism. It points to this pretty wild cautionary tale of a late pastor named Kim Sung-soo. His church still plays videos of his old sermons for their main Sunday service, more than 13 years after his death. That is exactly what happens when leadership isn't shared and delegated. Paul's elder system ensures a much healthier team dynamic. It beautifully balances centralized power with total decentralization, so strengths are maximized and no single superstar is dominating the field.
Okay, on to our final play. Strategy 3, gracious feedback.
Listen, every great team needs a halftime review. But let's be honest, giving feedback in a community can be incredibly tough, right? Harsh evaluations often just cause deep wounds and make people shut down entirely. When Paul and Barnabas gathered the church in Antioch, they didn't hold a tribunal to assign blame or nitpick mistakes. Instead, their feedback was designed purely to unlock performance and enact real change, focusing gracefully on the positives to build the whole team up for the second half of the game.
The source outlines 5 highly practical guidelines for healthy feedback that we can all use. 1. Always share what God has done first. 2. Encourage the genuine efforts of the folks sweating it out on the field. 3, and this is a big one, be objective when evaluating the work, but be incredibly generous to the people actually doing it. 4, don't just criticize, offer future strategies and viable alternatives. And 5, make sure the feedback restores relationships and recharges the players. Honestly, ask yourself right now, which of these 5 guidelines do you most need to apply to your own words and attitude today?
Which brings us to the final section, the current match, your position and time. I absolutely love how the source maps out the stages of our lives to the actual phases of a soccer match. Think about exactly where you are in your life right now. Our kids, they're the youth club, prepping for the big leagues. Young adults, you guys are on the sidelines warming up. The middle-aged among us have finished the first half and are catching their breath at halftime, and if you're a senior or perhaps a first-generation immigrant, you might think you're done, but actually, you're in the most intense, crucial, nail-biting phase of the entire game. Extra time and penalty shootouts. Literally, this is where the matches are won or lost.
So I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. Are you just a spectator sitting comfortably up in the stands, or are you a disciple sweating it out on the field? Whether you are navigating immigrant life in Madrid or deployed literally anywhere else in the world, your daily life, your school, your office, your living room, that is your football pitch. It's time to drop the excuses. What is one specific missional action you're going to take this week as a starting player in your arena? The great manager has called your number. It's time to get in the game. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, I'll see you on the field.